Hello, fellow parents and educators. Thank you for joining me at Education Evolution, where we are disrupting the status quo in today's learning models. We talk about present-day education, what's broken, who's fixing it, and how. I'm Dr. Maureen O'Shaughnessy, your host and founder of Education Evolution and the Microschool Coalition, where we are fiercely committed to changing the narrative, to reimagining the education landscape and creating learning that serves all children and prepares them to thrive. If you are new, welcome to the podcast. Please subscribe on our website to get it delivered to your inbox weekly. If you've been around a while, have you left a review? Hi, Mike. So good to have you. Listeners, today I'm chatting with Mike Haykin. Mike is the assistant head and former director of learning services at Seattle Academy, a prominent local independent school. I can't wait for Mike to share with you the newly formed options program at Seattle Academy. I want us to all hear about how it's doing in its inaugural semester. Mike, let's start with, what is the genesis story of your program? Why did you create the options program?
So I've been at Seattle Academy 20 years, and we developed a very large and strong learning support department that was really designed to support kids in the context of the content curriculum in academic courses within the school. And since the beginning of time, I always knew that we were going to need something a little bit different for some kids when the opportunity came to develop it. And after years of growing the school, the opportunity finally came online. Really, what I've seen and kind of what I knew way back when is that we have kids that really need to have a couple of different areas where things are individualized. They need smaller courses. They need instruction that is broken down so that they can understand and ask questions more in the moment rather than going to school, going home, trying to recreate what happened in class and doing homework was a problem for a number of kids and has been throughout the arc of time. So wanted to have something where we could have core academic courses where that could occur within the context of the class. So individualizing instruction a bit and individualizing curriculum can happen in those smaller groups. Also understood that kids with a variety of what could be processing speed, could be attentional issues, could be stress and anxiety, could be learning disabilities of a variety of different forms, anything that impacts speed. Part of what happens for those kids is that they fatigue as the day goes on, and as they fatigue, their stress increases, and what they needed to be able to have is much more flexibility in creating an aggregated academic load that really reflect what was good for them, and at the same time maintain a college preparatory structure.
I love that the kids get to have things personalized to work for them. So how would a school day look different for a student in the options program compared to a student in the larger Seattle Academy?
Okay. One thing I'll just add real quickly, wanted to be able to have, for kids to be able to have access to the rich arts, electives, athletics, community, and events and activities and trips and all that kind of good stuff as well. Okay, so how would things look different for kids? So English, history, science, math, we offer courses that are option specific. We pair those in English, history, and science and math so that kids could take English and history options classes or science and math options classes or English, history, science and math options classes. So part of their day is in option-specific classes. And then some of the kids will have schedules. We have an 8-block schedule. Some of the kids will have 8-block schedules. Some of them will have 7-block schedules. Some of them will have 6-block schedules. Some of them will have time during those additional 2 blocks where they can get individual support or just have time to do some of their work. And I think the other component is for kids that are involved in some kind of health care or mental health care treatment and need to have a schedule that can flex so that they can address whatever therapeutic needs that, or treatment needs that they may have. We can flex what their day looks like. And finally, for kids that aren't able to be at school as consistently as we would typically like in the standard program, we have the capacity to work with them remotely, but then the rest of the world does right now too. So those are the ways it could look different.
Great. So they have these classes and then access to the electives. So it sounds like they have the best of both worlds. I'm wondering, teachers, how did you recruit the teachers? Seattle Academy has a reputation for being inclusive and for really trying to add in extra supports for all kinds of learners. So where did your teachers come from?
So we have 2 teachers right now. We're a small program. We're starting small. We're going to continue to grow slowly. So I needed teachers that could teach English and history. And then on the science math, I needed kind of a unicorn. I needed a teacher that could teach multiple disciplines of science and also curriculum math that goes up from pre-algebra to calculus. One of our teachers I've worked with for a couple of years before we started up the options program, and she's somebody that I'd worked with individualizing program for a number of students and couldn't be more thrilled to have Alyssa Fogel working with us in that program. And then I was on the hunt and came across a guy named Josh Brown, and Josh Brown is my unicorn. So he can do all those things and loves working with kids, and kids are really responding to him incredibly well. And he works with the breadth of faculty and parents well, too. So I've actually always claimed I really only have one talent in life, and that's that I hire well.
It sounds like a great talent. I love that, Mike. I wonder, is the options program a transition program or a home for these students?
It is really structured to be a different path towards diploma. And so it is a different, there is a different graduation requirements that are really attached to the options program. However, if there were a student that it really made sense to transition from the options program to the standard program, that is possible.
I love that. That's personalized again. Kids can stay there, or if it's just a place they need to be for a shorter amount of time, that you have that flexibility. Every step of this seems to align with Seattle Academy's mission to really, support kids and to see them as individuals. So impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah. What are students and parents in the options program saying about it now that you've been up and running for a quarter?
So it was interesting because the original vision was for in-person program, and
Right.
And so with a little bit of trepidation, really wanted to figure out what the program needed to look like to be successful for students. We just finished parent conferences, so we have a pretty good read on that, and students participate in conferences, and they actually, I don't know that they lead them, but they definitely have a very large voice within the context of the meeting. And, what we hear is really consistent from kids, and what we hear from kids is they are really appreciating the options program and the options classes, and that their stressors have decreased remarkably. Interestingly, one of the comments that we heard a lot of is, well, they want to be with their peers and have access to larger group of peers. They're also finding the more intimate structure of the smaller classes is a more comfortable venue for a lot of them to really connect and engage with each other. And from parents, we are hearing things like kids have needed to be out for a little bit. My son or daughter is anxious to get back to school, and rather and that attending school is something that is no longer an issue, that kids are calmer on the home front. And, we're also getting some input from therapists and other specialists that are working with kids. And it's just, it's really getting some positive response. But, I think that's always the case when you have kids with unique learning needs and you have a program that is consistent with their needs, things get better. And so that is where we're at. I think one of the other things that has been interesting is that, stigma, whenever you're starting a program like this, is always on the top of everybody's mind. Is there going to be a stigma? When I started up the Study Skills program, 18, 19 years ago, same question existed then. What's been interesting is we've been getting a lot of student referrals to the options program.
Wow.
Which has been kind of answers my stigma question at the moment. I don't know what that'll look like completely when we're on campus and off remote.
I love that kids are seeing the value, and that it makes perfect sense that when kids have something more aligned with how they learn and with their big picture of life, that they're going to do better. I wonder too, you had mentioned the personalized and whatnot. Does the homework requirement tend to shift to more done in school and less left to the kids at home?
Well, very much so. The biggest challenge for pretty much every student that's in options has been on the production end of things. And so when they have the ability to understand instruction, or if they aren't understanding instruction, ask questions within the moment while they're working on whatever assignments that they need to be progressing on, what they're finding is it's hugely efficient. They're able to get through more work quickly, and that at the back end of the day, they just don't have the same stress and fatigue. So very much we're trying to have as much of the production occurring within the context of the class. And it is interesting. We have, if you're going to take advanced algebra or pre-calculus or a course like that, the majority of kids are actually moving through the curriculum quicker with this kind of structure than they would be otherwise. And we do have the ability to slow things down. We do for, some kids, but really that taking that piece out where kids have to go home and they're already fatigued and they have to recreate directions, instructions, concepts, content, and all that kind of stuff before they can even get out of the starting gates and go is just much more efficient for them. And hence, they're pretty happy with how it's going.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. What a game changer. And I know for our micro school, I love that we can speed it up, slow it down, enrich, that it's not everybody going at the same pace, and it's humanized. So you're humanizing learning, and kids are happy and want to come to school. That's so impressive. I have one last question for you, Mike. If you had a magic wand to support students and families in transition or with unique learning needs, what would you wish for?
Oh, that would be a long list. I think
maybe the top one or two, maybe.
I think an understanding that schools tend to be structured like funnels where everybody gets dropped in and they're all supposed to come out at the same place at the same time. And humans are not built that way. And that there are kids that are talented, wonderful, creative human beings that are just on a different pace and a different path. And that really, if everybody can just appreciate that not everybody has to be on the same timeline, and that in schools there tends to be this focus on weakness rather than strength. And if we can put our energies more into focusing on strength, kids will find and define their own path and have bright futures.
I love it. Both points. And yeah, we play to our strengths as adults, don't we? So
Yeah,
why wouldn't we want that for our adolescents?
absolutely.
Wow. Mike, I am so impressed that Seattle Academy is seeing this need, meeting this need, and that you've taken this on to create the options program. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you. And thanks for the good work you're also doing with your program. It's great what you're achieving out there, too. So
Thank you, Mike.
You bet.
Seattle Academy has taken a great shortcut to create a microschool. It is so much easier to piggyback on an existing school or business when we're starting a new program. When I began a school within a school in a large high school in Washington State, the building, students, and teachers were already there. I just needed to reconfigure the learning model for the small group of learners we wanted to serve. My hope is parents and educators who are listening will think about a nearby large school and get creative. Is there a need that could lead to a small program being created within your larger school? Or is there a talent within the school that could be grown into a school within a school? I've often thought about my amazing flipped learning teacher friends and that they would be able to bless more students if they could create a school within a school so that students had the majority of their day in a flipped learning model. The last large high school that I led had a fantastic drama and music program. It would have been wonderful for them to create a performing arts school within a school where humanities and the other subjects could have been woven into a performing arts theme. I know many of the students would have loved to have had this interdisciplinary way of learning and have a larger connection to their passion. These schools within a schools or academies often face resistance to change, but they shouldn't. Who wouldn't want to offer a special program like Dave Hackett's Manufacturing Production Technology Academy at Laguna Creek? I've got this in the show notes. His kids are busy launching and chasing rockets that they made and don't even notice that they're learning physics. His program and class are part of the high school innovation movement known as career academies, small schools within the larger comprehensive high school. And they integrate academics with technical know-how in an occupation or industry. So that again is another way that learning can come to life and we can create a small community with a focused theme. Wouldn't it be great if we abolished the funnel model of learning that Mike mentioned? And didn't dump kids into the funnel and expect them to all come out on the same timeline? And for programs within schools to get to play to students' strengths and passions. We adults definitely don't live our lives from this deficit model that we put kids through. And it's pretty discouraging for many of our teens. I also love that the kids in the options programs are not loaded down with homework. That old school model of rigor, meaning hours of homework, is pressure adding to mental health issues in many of our teens. And it's unnecessary. We need to rethink the purpose of homework and how we do it. I've put a school within a school guide in the show notes. My book also outlines these steps. We have lots of examples of these great programs out there, including Seattle Academy's Options program. And starting in January, I have a mastermind support group for leaders of these small programs so that we can work together and level up and keep developing as professionals, all within the support of a community. Congratulations to the Options Program and all schools who are creating more choices to serve a wider variety of learners. This is how education evolves and catches up with the needs of today's learners. Thank you for joining me. If you're finding yourself thinking, I need to do this in my school, let's talk about it. I consult with schools to help them find new, innovative solutions to reaching every student. Let's put together an action plan. Visit educationevolution.org/consult to book a call, and let's get started. Education Evolution listeners, you are the ones to ensure we create classrooms where each student is seen, heard, valued, and thriving. We need you. Let's go out and reach every student today. I'd be so grateful if you'd head over to your podcast app to give a great rating and review if you found this episode valuable. Don't wait. Please do it right now before you forget. I really appreciate it. Thank you for listening. Signing off, I am Maureen O'Shaughnessy, your partner in boldly reimagining education.